Hi, Jeff Day with BNA News. Getting into the weeds, so to speak here. As I understand it, the Bay Program in the states are now kind of beefing up the tributary strategies, as it was called, where there are pollution permits, put in new pollution permits to try to make headway there in a way that hasn't been, where you get hard mandates for pollution reductions. How is that? I know it's early. How is that going? When do you think there would actually be changes implemented because of it? And could it be changed by this new administration in any way? Will they affect it?
Jeff, good question. Rich Patuk, Associate Director for Science with the EPA Chesapeake Bay Program Office. I think what you're referring to, Jeff, is essentially a regulatory requirement, a TMDL, a total maximum daily load. In other words, defining in a regulatory sense what the pollution diet is for the Chesapeake. We're required, the 6 states, the district, and EPA are working together to put a new pollution diet in, one that has a regulatory back end into place by December of 2010. What's going to be different, we've been working different versions of that all the way through. What's going to be different in this particular case is taking that pollution diet, putting it specific to not only the wastewater treatment plants that George showed up there, the 483 of them, the more significant ones, from the big blue plains to the small plants up in Pennsylvania, and having them have a specific nitrogen phosphorus limit specific to local needs, but also for downtown Chesapeake Bay needs. But not only that, but we're then going to be working with conservation districts to provide farmers in a particular region potentially with what their nitrogen, phosphorus, and sediment limits should be within that area. We'll be working with folks that oversee stormwater programs in different municipalities. We're going to be working with people that work in their backyards. What do we need to get from our septic systems? So to take what was previously very broad numbers and actually tailor them down to the individual river systems that are currently impaired, like the Magathy, the Pianka Tank, the Chop Tank on the eastern shore, and write specific pollution diets, working with local communities, local mayors, with conservation districts and others to tailor those needs to it, but also to make folks in the headwaters in West Virginia, New York, continue to understand that they have a regulatory requirement to also work for waters that may be 200, 300, 400 miles downstream. So it's building on the good science of the last 25 years, 30 years, and building in a more specific regulatory requirement for both regulated sources and sources that are not regulated, then a more specific diet for that particular part of the watershed.
Thank you. And this is David Paler. I'm the director of the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality. To get to your point of how it's working, at least in Virginia, we have established pollution caps for all of our tributaries, and our point source dischargers really are on path to meet those targets. In fact, we're very close to meeting the nitrogen and phosphorus caps even this year. We expect to meet them by 2010. For Virginia, unfortunately, that's 1/3 of the actual reductions that need to be made. And so we are making progress with the non-point source pollutions as well, but that's where the greater challenge is. But you made reference to the tributary strategies. These caps are based on those tributary strategies, and I guess I'd call that phase 1 of the TMDL. We're going through the TMDL process now. We're going to confirm what the caps need to be and refocus again, especially on the non-point source practices that need to be put into place.
If I might add, I wanted to emphasize the historic significance and the crux of the question you just asked, which to me is the question facing the program, which is what's true in Virginia is the same as true as D.C. and most of the states, if not all, in the region. We've been able to achieve reductions from the point sources, the wastewater treatment plants that are throughout the region. Blue Plains is the biggest, but there are many others. That's been a historic success. The principal challenge of the day, which is really where we are right now, is in the tributary strategy, where you have a cap on a tributary. You know your reductions you're getting from the wastewater treatment plant. How do you provide regulatory limitations on what is essentially a diffuse pollutant source? That's the principal question that we face all over the United States, but principally here in the Chesapeake. There are solutions and ways to do that, but that, I think, is the question of the moment, and each state is working very vigorously on that score.